Hello, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm Carrie. I'm a 29-year-old vegan living in Bristol in the UK with my fiance who's not vegan, but he does eat vegan at home with me. I've been vegan around 8.5 years now, and I make content all about living frugally as a vegan in the UK and how I can keep my budget low for specifically food and grocery shopping so that I can spend my money on other things I want to spend it on. So I hope you're well today. This is a bit of a different video. It's a different backdrop for those who have watched my videos before. This is actually going to be my first sort of sit down type video, which I don't know if is a bit of a vintage YouTube term now. I think I used to watch a lot of Louise Pentland, Zoella, you know, those sorts of like OG YouTubers that would be like, just doing a sit down video today. But yeah, maybe it's not a term used so much. But I just wanted to do a bit of a different video today. It's been one that I've been thinking up for a little while now, and that is 10 things that I wish I knew before I went vegan. I just thought this would be a really helpful video for those who might be considering going vegan, who are on their journey, or it might be helpful for those who are vegan, but they might not know some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. So without further ado, let's get into my 10 things I wish I knew before I went vegan. So number one is that lots of people have different definitions of what vegan is. I get my definition of how I live my life from the Vegan Society, and that is how I would determine whether something is vegan or not. So for those who are unaware, that means I don't eat any animal products at all, whether they are raised by my neighbour or my neighbour's cousin, or whether they're on a factory farm. I just do not consume it at all. And any sort of product related to animals as well, so honey, but with the exception of if there is medicine that I require to be healthy and that does have lactose in it or something like that, and there isn't a suitable alternative, then I will still consume that medicine. So that is how I view veganism. However, I have been asked actually a fair amount, how vegan are you, or how strict a vegan are you, from well-meaning strangers. And I think this is because some people will consider themselves vegan, but they will say, I'm vegan, but I do eat fish, or I'm vegan, but I eat my neighbour's eggs from their chickens, and that sort of thing. So the way that I approach this question is with honesty, being direct and say, you know, I'm fully vegan, and then I reconfirm that I don't eat any animal products, so no dairy, no eggs, no honey, and no meat. And that usually sums it up, because people are usually asking you in reference to your eating habits. If you're at a restaurant or you're going to a party and people want to know what to provide for you, obviously veganism is a lifestyle, so it's much bigger than just what you're consuming and putting into your body. But I think it is, in those situations, probably the easiest way to distinguish. That question is coming from a place of wanting to understand. So I normally just take it on the chin and try not to get too annoyed about the fact, like, well, how vegan am I? What does that mean? I'm just vegan. Because obviously some people identify as vegan, but then they may have admissions or other things that they actually keep within their lifestyle, which is not vegan. So yeah, that's number one, that people have different definitions, so prepare to explain yourself a fair amount when asked. The second thing I wish I knew before I went vegan, and this is more of a practical tip, is that vegan cheese is so much more palatable if you give yourself a bit of cold turkey time away from cheese altogether. The way that I was advised to approach vegan cheese, which really helped after the first time I tried it, I think a couple of days from having dairy cheese and really hating it, is give yourself some time. So don't eat any cheese, vegan or otherwise, for a good few weeks to a month before you introduce vegan cheese to your diet, and then try and look at vegan cheese as a whole new food rather than a substitute, which obviously works super well in place of cheese. But I found having it separate and looking at it as a new food then really helped me to accept vegan cheese. Obviously, if you don't like vegan cheese, you don't have to have it, but it's very helpful and is something that I really enjoy now, to have vegan cheese so that I can have vegan pizzas with cheese and that sort of thing. So I would recommend anyone going vegan, give yourselves a couple of weeks with no cheese whatsoever, vegan or otherwise, before you start introducing it, and then you might be surprised. Also, vegan cheese is not all created equal, so there are some that are going to be not to your taste, and there are some that you might really like as well. So it is worth trying more than one. Okay, my third thing that I wish I knew before I went vegan is that protein is in so many different foods, and it's not just in meat. So when I went vegan, I think one of the most asked questions I got is like, where will you get your protein from if you're vegan and you're not eating meat? I was vegetarian before I went vegan for a short period and pescatarian before that, so I'd had some protein questions anyway, but I think people are much more accepting of you getting protein from dairy than they are from plant-based sources. But protein is actually really rich in nuts, seeds, vegetables, carbs even. So actually, unless you're preparing for a bodybuilding competition or you're doing significant, like, vigorous exercise, it's probably going to be fairly easy for you to hit your protein goal as a vegan without adding a scoop of protein powder to everything. No hate to protein powder, but it just simply isn't necessary if you are having a wide and varied plant-based diet. So number 3, try not to worry about protein. Number 4 is along similar lines to number 3, and that is, if you're taking a multivitamin, if you're eating foods which are fortified with vitamins, and you're having a balanced, varied, plant-based diet, it is very easy to be healthy without deficiencies. Now, obviously, every person is different, so I'm not suggesting that you don't keep a track on these things, but I'm just saying it is so possible to have really healthy life as a vegan without too much fuss. So I wish I'd known that. The last time I had my bloods done, everything was beautiful. So, you know, it just goes to show that you can be super healthy without taking a million different supplements and without eating meat. Number 5, I mentioned in number 4 about fortified foods, but number 5 is a bit of a warning about some fortified foods. I would say this particularly pertains to cereals, and that is, some fortified foods are not vegan because they might contain vitamins that are derived from animal sources. When I'm talking about cereals, vitamin D, which is added to cereals, sometimes is from an animal source rather than a plant source. So sometimes the vitamin D in cereals can be derived from lanolin, which is sheep's wool, which obviously wouldn't be vegan. So with cereals and other fortified foods, I am really strict with making sure that it's clearly marked vegan before purchasing them. And that is something that if you're just looking at the ingredients and you're not paying much attention to, is it marked, then you may think that a product is vegan, but actually if you look into it, then it may not be. So I would say be aware of fortified foods and make sure that they are clearly marked vegan. Number 6, a bit in contrast to number 5, is not everything that isn't marked vegan isn't vegan. So some companies do have to pay to, get the certification on there or to mark it as vegan. But by ingredients, it might be absolutely fine and suitable for vegans. There's a really helpful Instagram and Facebook page called Accidentally Vegan. They post lots of products that are accidentally vegan by ingredient, but might not necessarily state vegan on the product. So if you're in the UK, I would really recommend that you utilize that platform, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram, because you'll see that so many things that you didn't realize are actually vegan by ingredient anyway, and not even aiming to be marketed for vegans. So you may be eating things already that just happen to be vegan. So some of the things that I can think of are party rings and jammy dodgers. So biscuits are a must. Both of those are accidentally vegan, and obviously very pleased to have those in my life. Another thing to be aware of with that is if a product says may contain milk, fish, whatever, then that is a cross-contamination risk. It means that it will have been produced in a factory that might have handled other products, so there may be a small risk of cross-contamination. That is a warning specifically for allergy sufferers, and just because something has a may contain risk does not mean that the product is not vegan. So you may see in bold, if you're in the UK, milk, eggs, and you might think, oh my goodness, but just double check. If it's a may contain, then it just means that it's been produced in a factory that also handles those products, but it does not mean that the product isn't vegan. Number 7 is that your grocery bill after you go vegan might actually go down. There's such a preconception, I think, at least in my country, that vegan foods are super expensive. And while that may be the case for some of the ready meal or pre-packaged vegan foods, actually, hopefully if you've watched my videos before, you'll have seen on my channel that so many vegan foods are budget friendly, and your bill may actually go down when you cut out pricey items such as meat, dairy, and eggs. So that is something that I wish I knew before I went vegan, because it might have motivated me to go vegan a little bit sooner. Number 8 is about vegan cosmetics. So it actually took me a while to switch out all of my cosmetics when I went vegan, and I think I was just a little bit scared that I was going to have to buy really expensive, all organic, specific branded cosmetics to replace my makeup and that sort of thing. But actually, I wish I knew that places such as Superdrug and Boots have lots of vegan friendly own ranges that are really budget friendly as well. And you may well see advertised, expensive, organic, branded products, but those aren't the only products that exist that are vegan, you know? So shop around and I'm sure you'll find some great things. My makeup that I'm wearing today is from the brand Wet n Wild, which is just a drugstore makeup brand. I think it originated in the US, but it is available at Boots now in the UK. Everything is marked cruelty-free and vegan that I own from that brand. I'm not sure if everything from that brand is vegan, so do double check it if you are considering it, but actually so budget friendly, and I really like the look of it. I don't think you can tell. I mean, I'm not a makeup expert, so maybe you can, but everything that I wear on my face is budget friendly and it's also vegan. Number 9 of things I wish I knew before I went vegan is that the website and app Happy Cow will make traveling as a vegan infinitely easier. If you're going to a new country and you haven't been there before, you don't know about the local restaurants, about the local cuisine and what you might be able to eat, all you have to do is go on the website or the app, happycow.net, you type in the city where you're going to be staying, click search, and not only is it going to show you fully vegan places in the vicinity, it's also going to show you non-vegan restaurants that have vegan options too. So if you are in a big group and there are meat eaters there, but you want to make sure that you can still have vegan dishes, then Happy Cow is great. Similarly, you can filter just on the vegan restaurants too. And especially when I'm abroad, I really like to try out the fully vegan places where I can, because the foods might be a little bit different and they might have traditional cuisine but made vegan friendly as well. So I wish I'd known that before I went vegan, because traveling as a vegan is made just so much easier. And then number 10, things I wish I knew before I went vegan is that Rome is not built in a day. So I actually spent a couple of months where I had gone from pescatarian to vegetarian. I wanted to go vegan, but I was scared of failing, and so I put it off. and I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do it. And then finally I took the plunge for Veganuary. And my thinking around that was, well, if I fail, then it will be a smaller fail because I'll have at least completed Veganuary. Within, I want to say, a week of Veganuary, I knew that I was never going back to adding any animal products into my diet again. So I wish that I would have just tried sooner and not put so much pressure on myself about failing. I think anything that you're doing to cut down on animal consumption isn't a fail, particularly when you have the goal of veganism in mind, and each day that you aren't eating animal products or utilizing animals in a negative way is a very positive day. So I wish I'd known that it would have been okay to try sooner. So those are all my tips for today of 10 things I wish I knew before I went vegan. Let me know in the comments if you have thought about any of these things before, if you're already vegan, or if you are hoping to become vegan, you're thinking about it, and these tips help you out at all. As I say, I've been vegan for 8.5 years now, but I feel like my knowledge of veganism, my passion for veganism has just grown and grown over time as well. So I'm so happy to be sharing these little tips and tricks with you. So hopefully you can go vegan, or you can reflect on your vegan experience so far. If you liked this video, please do give it a like, subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this, and comment below and let me know what you thought. Until next time, bye!